Number 1.
A Nevada family is holding on to hope that their loved one is safe. 19-year-old Caitlin Denison has not been seen or heard from since January. "This isn't like her," Caitlin's sister, Rachel Denison, said. "We would never go this long without talking, that's why I know something is wrong." The last thing Denison told her family is that she was flying to Midland with a man she had just met. A man Caitlin's family knows nothing about. They don't know what his name is, nor even what he looks like. Even more troubling, the last words Rachel remembers her sister saying on the other end of the phone. She said, "This guy makes me scared for my life." Rachel says Caitlin met a man in her hometown, Reno, 6 months ago and flew back with him to Midland. She didn't tell anyone his name. "We know nothing and that's what makes it so frustrating," she said. 6 months later, Rachel wishes she could go back and stop Caitlin from leaving. "I would tackle her to the ground and tell her no, do whatever I could to stop her," she said. Rachel says she and her family are trying to stay positive, but they fear something horrible has happened to Caitlin. "What if she's hurt or he trafficked her? And she can't get to us? Those are the thoughts we are living with because we just don't know," she said. DPS say the mystery man, still yet to be identified, boarded the plane with Caitlin. Another roadblock. The Denisons do not know the flight number and have not been able to check airport surveillance footage. Caitlin is described as being 5 tall and weighing 120 pounds with blue eyes and blonde hair. She has a tattoo on her left knuckle of the word alien and the letter M, a tattoo on her right forearm of a Libra scale, 2 piercings in her nose on each side, a piercing on her bottom lip, a tongue piercing and Medusa piercing, and scars on her legs and arms. Authorities are asking for the public's help in finding a woman who was last seen in West Texas. According to DPS, 19-year-old Caitlin Marie Denison was last seen on January 10. Caitlin flew from Reno to Texas to meet with an unidentified man who lives in Midland. Caitlin is described as being 5 tall and weighing 120 pounds with blue eyes and blonde hair. She has a tattoo on her left knuckle of the word alien and the letter M, a tattoo on her right forearm of a Libra scale, 2 piercings in her nose on each side, a piercing on her bottom lip, a tongue piercing and Medusa piercing, and scars on her legs and arms. Anyone with information on this case is urged to call DPS at 512-424-5074 or 1-800-346-3243.
Number 2.
Diaz was last seen after leaving work at the H-E-B grocery store on Southeast Military Drive and Goliad Road in San Antonio, Texas on December 7, 2010. Surveillance cameras showed her talking to another woman near her truck. She was supposed to go to the home of her estranged husband, Pedro Pete Ruiz, to pick up a lawn mower. Her husband said he did see that day. They were in the process of a divorce. Prior to her disappearance, Ruiz had had to be escorted out of the H-E-B several times after confrontations with Diaz while she worked. Days later, Diaz's white 2010 Toyota Tacoma pickup truck, with her purse inside it, was found on Highway 181 and FM 320, just down the street from Ruiz's home. There was no sign of her at the scene, and she has never been heard from again. A photo of the truck is posted with this case summary. A private investigator hired by Diaz's family believes she arrived home after going to Ruiz's house and was surprised there. The shoes she wore on the day of her disappearance was found inside her home, and they had sand stuck to them, similar to the sand found at Ruiz's home. Some clothes were also scattered on the floor of her residence, which is uncharacteristic of Diaz. She normally kept everything neat and clean. Investigators don't believe she left of her own accord. Ruiz has been a person of interest in her case over the years. Just days after she went missing, he inquired about her life insurance policy and grew angry when he found out he wasn't the beneficiary. He has never charged in her case, however, and he maintains his innocence. Police dug for her body at their former home in Floresville, Texas in 2018, but didn't find any evidence. Diaz's case remains unsolved.
Number 3.
Diehl was last seen in Nocona, Texas on March 30, 2015. He lived with his sister in Grapevine, Texas, but at the time of his disappearance he was visiting his mother in Nocona and had a part-time job there. His own vehicle was in the repair shop, so Diehl borrowed a pickup truck from his employer, Ricky Dale Howard, to go to another job. Howard was also a good friend of Diehl's family. A photo of him is posted with this case summary. Diehl never returned to his mother's home that night. The truck he was driving was found abandoned at Howard's home 2 days after his disappearance, with its keys hanging on their usual hook. Authorities aren't sure how it got there. Since his disappearance, Diehl hasn't used his cellular phone or his social media accounts. He didn't take any belongings with him. Police tracked Diehl's cellular phone signal to Howard's property. This is the last place is known to have been before it lost signal. Howard told police he had found a broken phone lying on the floor and had thrown it away. Before law enforcement could examine Howard's own phone, he removed the SIM card and destroyed it. Howard has a prior criminal record for bank fraud and aiding and abetting. He was convicted in 2007 and sentenced to 46 months in federal prison. In May 2015, he was arrested on weapons charges. He gave police investigating Diehl's disappearance permission to search his property, and they found several guns, which as a convicted felon he wasn't allowed to possess. Howard pleaded guilty to the firearms charges and was sentenced to 5 years in prison. In 2016, he was charged with 4 counts of aggravated sexual assault of a child after 2 boys came forward and said Howard had sexually abused them during the 1990s. One alleged victim stated Howard began abusing him in 1996 when he was 13 years old, and the assaults continued for 4 years. He estimated that he was abused about 500 times. Another alleged victim said Howard had abused him in 1994 when he was 12. Howard is still awaiting trial on those charges, which will take place after he is released from federal prison in the firearms case. In 2017, police obtained Howard's desktop computer and found 300 images of child sexual abuse on it, as well as images of Diehl. While none of the photos of Diehl showed him being sexually abused, they did show him in various states of undress. In 2018, police recovered Howard's laptop computer, which he had given to a relative in Tennessee to help run his business. They found child sexual abuse images on that as well, including images of Howard sexually abusing a nude male minor about 13 to 15 years old. Diehl's family identified the boy in the photos as him. As a result of these photographs, in October 2018, Howard was charged in state court with possession of child pornography with unknown victims and indecency with a child by exposure and by sexual contact, that child being Diehl. In February 2021 he was charged in federal court with sexual exploitation of a minor, the minor being Diehl. The first trial ended in a mistrial after a juror was injured and could not be replaced. Afterwards, Howard reached a plea deal with the prosecution, pleading guilty to 1-count sexual exploitation of a minor. More than 40 other charges, both state and federal, were dropped. In October 2021, he was sentenced to the maximum term of 30 years in prison. Authorities aren't sure what happened to Diehl, and no charges have been filed in his disappearance, but foul play has not been ruled out, and they think it's possible Howard was involved in his case. Diehl was a high school senior at the time of his disappearance and planned to move to California or Colorado after graduation. His loved ones stated he was close to his family, and it's uncharacteristic of him to leave without warning. His case remains unsolved.
Number 4.
Martha Wes Dunn and Eric Glenn Owens were dating in the summer of 1990 in Dangerfield, Texas. At the time Martha was 15 and Eric was 17. On September 4, 1990, Martha returned to Dangerfield from visiting relatives in Oklahoma. According to the Charlie Project, Martha was unhappy and she argued with her parents. The last time they saw her was at 2:20 p.m. At approximately 10 p.m., she spoke on the phone with her boyfriend, 17-year-old Eric Owens. The next day, both Martha and Eric were gone. So I guess it's reasonable that the pair were classified as runaways. It's not entirely clear what Martha and her parents were arguing about, but she was 15, it could have been anything. There are various theories about where the pair could have gone, but the main two are Hayworth, Oklahoma, where the young man had an aunt, and Wichita, Kansas, where the young man's mother lived. However, they have not been seen in either of these places. But the plot thickens. On September 30th, Martha's father received a call from a friend who lived in Durant, Oklahoma. He claimed that he had seen Martha and Eric together in the area and that both were dirty and hungry. He stated that he cleaned them up and gave them food. When investigators went to Durant, Oklahoma to investigate his statement, the pair was gone. So, they either moved or something happened, but there's no proof either way. And of course there's the obvious fact that tracking the homeless is difficult. Add to that, it's been established that Eric and Martha were both heavily involved with drugs at the time they went missing. Charlie didn't expand upon that, so I have no real information on what drugs or when or how they got on them. There is no evidence that any harm has come to the pair, so the police continue to classify them as runaways. If they are alive today, Martha would be 45 and Eric would be 48. The case got a little attention in local Texas news last year, but there was no new information given. DNA and dentals are available for Martha, and she has a case file with the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. Eric apparently has none of these, or at least, none that I could find.
Number 5.
The night before Thanksgiving 2015, Maria Isabel Elizalde's family decided to make tamales rather than the traditional turkey. Maria's mother, Kathleen Rodriguez, recruited 15-year-old Maria and her two daughters to help make tamales, but it was around 7:30 p.m., and the girls soon grew tired of helping out in the kitchen, so they asked Kathleen for permission to go play outside. Kathleen decided to relieve the girls of their kitchen duties, and they went outside to play. Kathleen's husband came home around 9 p.m. from work and saw the siblings playing outside in the yard, but when Kathleen called for them to come in a few minutes later, only two of her daughters returned. Maria did not come in and was nowhere to be found. Per Kathleen, she just vanished from the backyard. When Maria disappeared, she was wearing heels, had no money with her, and was not wearing a jacket. Panicking, Kathleen immediately began calling for Maria and asked neighbors about her, but no one had seen her. Surveillance footage from cameras on the street showed no signs of Maria either. Kathleen jumped in her truck and drove around the neighborhood to a nearby train station, but did not find Maria. In the 5 years since her daughter's disappearance, Kathleen continues to search for Maria by physically following people Maria used to know. This scares her husband, as the surveillance often leads her to search bad parts of town. Worried Kathleen would get hurt, her husband would advise her to stop, but she remained steadfast in searching for her daughter, commenting, "I was out there day and night, I just have to check every little lead." Maria grew up in Mexico and had only been living with Kathleen for a little over a year. Taken to Mexico as a baby by her paternal grandmother, Kathleen was not allowed to have contact with her daughter for years. Child Protective Services later contacted Kathleen to retake custody due to allegations of sexual abuse. Kathleen opines that her daughter would act out occasionally, which she attributed to the abuse. Maria had also run away one time in the past, but Kathleen avers it was only for a few hours and she had run away to a nearby hospital. According to Kathleen, Maria's lack of experience in the United States makes her especially vulnerable, as she was naive and trusting, not realizing that there's not good people in this world. Maria later told her mother that she would never run away again because it had taken the two so long to be reunited. Thanksgiving is especially tough on the family to the point that they do not really celebrate it anymore. However, Kathleen continues to remain hopeful that Maria is alive and wants her to know that she can always come home. What fuels her hope is the fact she believes that at 15 years, one cannot possibly stay away for too long, commenting, "Where are you going to go, you know?" A 2018 news article noted that as part of a month-long campaign by the Texas Center for the Missing in conjunction with Clear Channel Outdoor Americas, billboards across North Texas flashed Maria's picture more than 50 times an hour. Her picture would eventually be shown 1,200 times a day for a month. Maria remains missing. Maria's hair was dyed blue at the ends at the time of her disappearance. She has a scar through her right eyebrow. If you have any information, please contact the Dallas Police Department at 214-744-4444.
Number 6.
Esquivel was last seen in Houston, Texas on December 19, 2006. She has never been heard from again. She had been working as an exotic dancer prior to her disappearance and met William Joseph Greer while she was on the job. She eventually left her husband for Greer. They were living together when Esquivel disappeared. A photograph of Greer is posted with this case summary. On December 22, Greer was arrested in Cleveland, Texas after being found wandering naked and intoxicated in a field. He told authorities that he had been using cocaine and had accidentally shot and killed Esquivel. No one believed his statements, and he was released from jail the next day. After getting out of jail, Greer went to visit a relative in Houston. He told the relative he had messed up his life and was going to Georgia to see his brother and had no plans to return. Greer did travel to Georgia and spent the Christmas holidays with his brother. He told his brother he had accidentally shot Esquivel and killed her and had buried her body. He said he was going to Canada to start a new life. His brother last saw him at a truck stop in Georgia. On December 30, Greer's two sons, then aged 9 and 13 years old, told police they heard Greer and Esquivel arguing between 2 o'clock and 5 a.m. on December 19. The children said they heard a gunshot, followed by a gurgling noise, and Greer asking Esquivel whether she was alive or dead. Later that morning, the children left for school and did not see Esquivel. Their mother picked them up after school so they could spend the holidays with her. Greer's sons did not tell anyone what had happened until December 30, after the holidays were over and they were supposed to return home. When police searched the family's residence in the 25,000 block of Barmy Drive, after hearing the children's statements, they found evidence of a shooting, including blood, in the bedroom. There was enough blood to indicate that someone had been seriously injured or killed. A roll of clear plastic wrap was also located. It is believed that Greer wrapped Esquivel's body in the plastic and disposed of it in an unknown location. He was indicted for Esquivel's murder in January 2007, and a warrant was issued for his arrest. He remained at large for nearly 11 years. He was finally arrested in Nacajuca, a remote town in southern Mexico near the Guatemalan border, in November 2017. He will be extradited to Texas and tried for Esquivel's murder. Foul play is strongly suspected in Esquivel's disappearance due to the circumstances involved. Her body has never been found.
Number 7.
Thomas is one of 6 children of Robert Estevis and his common-law wife, Maria Alejandrina Valverde. She also has a daughter from a prior relationship. He had not yet been born when his older 6 siblings were removed from their parents' home by Child Protective Services (CPS) due to drug use in the household. When Thomas was born, he tested positive for cocaine and was immediately taken from his parents and placed in foster care. In December 2007, after Robert and Maria had satisfied various CPS requirements, all 7 of their children were reunited with them. In November 2010, Robert was arrested for driving under the influence. One of his children was with him in the vehicle. The police went to Maria's house to tell her and give the child to her, and found her under the influence of drugs. As a result, CPS took custody of the 6 children who were present in the house. Thomas wasn't there. His parents said he was in Georgia with a relative. In December, CPS became temporary managing conservator of all the children, including Thomas, and asked again where he was. His parents still claimed he was in Georgia, but there was no evidence to verify this. In January 2011, Maria died at the age of 29. In October of that year, CPS asked the court to dismiss their temporary managing conservator of Thomas because he had never been in their care. They filed a missing persons report for the child in November. Authorities aren't sure what happened to Thomas, and the exact date of his disappearance is unknown. His case remains unsolved.
Number 8.
Abigail was last seen leaving her home in Harlingen, Texas on June 16, 2007. She has never been heard from again. She left her residence with her 16-year-old boyfriend, Ruben Torres Jr., and has never been heard from again. A photograph of Torres is posted with this case summary. He later stated he dropped Abigail off at a street corner near her home. Her loved ones did not believe she would have run away and stated that even if she had, she would have worn something other than slippers and would have taken extra clothing. All of Abigail's personal belongings were left behind when she vanished. Her parents knew she was seeing Ruben and had consented to their relationship, as had Ruben's parents. In August 2007, Torres was charged with capital murder in Abigail's case. He was arrested when he made a court appearance for other, unrelated charges that were brought against him before Abigail went missing. Authorities stated Abigail was a witness in a juvenile felony case against Torres. The murder charge was dropped for lack of evidence several months later, but Ruben remained incarcerated for other crimes until March 2009. In August 2015, 8 years after his initial arrest, Ruben was charged with Abigail's murder a second time. Torres was charged as an adult. His trial began in January 2017, and his friend testified that Torres told them he killed Abigail because she had told the police about his involvement in a drive-by shooting. After only 1 day of testimony, he pleaded guilty to capital murder and was sentenced to 18 years in prison. With credit for time served and time off for good behavior, he could be released in as little as 10 years. Although Abigail has never been located, foul play is suspected in her disappearance due to the circumstances involved.